There I am. It's FL Teams Live. And we are here to talk about the National Football League. And with me is my illustrious fellow host, Jeremiah Hensley, and the Genghis Khan of FL Teams, the Kim Jong Un of FL Teams. It's Isaac Edelman. Hey, gentlemen, how are you?
I couldn't be better, man. It's almost week one.
It's
Real
Christmas.
football.
It's like Christmas Eve.
It really is.
Well, the day before, because Thursday is football. Hey, let's rock and roll. Isaac, I'm going to kick it to you to give one last plug about what's going to happen with FL Teams football coverage this year, and then maybe you can carry us into the first game we're going to talk about.
Yeah, well, you guys know the drill. It's FL Teams, FLTeams.com, your go-to one-stop shop for all Florida sports coverage. I want to first give a shout-out to Jeff and Jeremiah because this is the start of what's going to be an amazing season of coverage, whether it's FL Teams Live or whether it's game previews, game recaps, or special shows throughout the week discussing the latest news in the state of Florida. So stay tuned and follow us on social media. But with that said, look, we have to start off with two teams that are not in Florida, but it's the start of the NFL season, so we're going to treat it like it's a Florida team. The Chiefs hosting the Detroit Lions. The Chiefs are going to raise their Super Bowl banner, and they're going to face an up-and-coming Lions team. We mention them on every episode. We love the Lions. They know what they're doing, and their head coach Campbell also knows what he's doing. Look, it's a Thursday night game to start the season. The Chiefs are better than the Lions anyway. I'm going to give this game to the Chiefs. They're raising the Super Bowl banner. They have high energy. Look, every team week one has a lot of energy. But when you think about raising that Super Bowl banner, it's going to be a sold-out crowd at Arrowhead Stadium. I'm going to give it to the Chiefs. There's not much to break down. The Chiefs are a better team, but just credit to the Lions. I think they will put up a fight.
Look, to me, this is the story of tight ends. Kelsey's not playing, and Dan Campbell's coaching his second year. The Lions shock the world.
I assume that means you're picking the Lions.
That's it. Lions, easy enough.
Yeah, I was going to say, you got to mention Travis Kelce. And we all picked the Lions to win their division last week. There's a lot going for the Lions. But yeah, the Chiefs are going to win this game. But I respect your pluckiness. I don't know.
I've always loved Dan Campbell. I wanted Miami to keep him. You'll hear that all year. He was my coach.
We know. Yeah, instead you got Cheech and Chong coaching your team. Speaking of Cheech and Chong, let's go down to Atlanta. That makes no sense at all. But the Carolina Panthers visit the Atlanta Falcons. And this is a division that last year deservedly got a lot of crap because they were bad. The 8-9 Bucks won the division because no other team wanted to, it seemed. The Falcons are kind of in that rebuild, but they're a step ahead of where the Panthers are, right? I mean, Desmond Ridder, I don't think anyone knows whether he's actually an NFL quarterback or not. But they've got some weapons on that team. They've got like 87 running backs that are NFL caliber. I don't know how they're going to utilize them all, but they've got some weapons. The Panthers, I feel like they're in that year one rebuilding stage. So week one, sorry, Bryce Young, I'm going to go with the ultra experienced Desmond Ridder, and I'm going to pick sorry, I threw up in my mouth a little bit. I'm going to pick the team from Georgia. I'm picking them to win the game.
I don't really want to predict this game. This is probably one of the worst week one games, but it honestly, no offense to the Bucks, this game could be a battle for the second place spot in the NFC South. If you think about it, it could be a battle for the second spot. And I honestly don't want to put too much thinking into this game, but I'm going to go with the Falcons. I don't see Bryce Young winning in his first game. And look, both of these rosters suck. I don't know if that means it's going to be low scoring or high scoring because defense sucks, offense sucks. But I really think if the Panthers were home, I would pick them. So I'm just going to go with the Falcons, the home team.
I'm with you, Isaac. It's a tough one to pick. I definitely do think it could be a battle for second. I think Carolina's a little tougher than they get credit for. They hung in some games last year, and Carolina got better. They got markedly better. Their quarterback got better. Their running back got better. Their wide receiver got better. You added Thielen. You added Miles Sanders. Now you C.J. Stroud. I think this is a team – or I'm sorry, Bryce Young. I'm getting this is a team that got better. I think Carolina can make it a game. It just – in Atlanta, two bad teams go with the home team. And – so, look, we go from two bad teams to two potentially really good teams when we go into the Battle of Ohio. The Cincinnati Bengals traveling to the Cleveland Browns. I guess the question mark is Burrow. They've kind of called him day to day. I don't see a situation where Burrow doesn't play week one. I don't think the contract matters that much at this point. But the interesting thing is going to be seeing Deshaun Watson and Cleveland after some time together. Are we going to get the dumpster fire Deshaun Watson that we got at the end of last season? He looked horrible. Or after an off season of getting to spend time with this offense, is there going to be growth at that next level? All that being said, Cleveland can run the ball. Divisional games, home field matters a lot. Cleveland's defense is really good if they can get pressure on Burrow. I think it's going to be close, but I just don't see Cincinnati losing week one.
Yeah. Well, Cincinnati did start 0-2 last year and still put they won their last 8 regular season games. There was the DeMar Hamlin game in there, but whatever. I picked the Bengals to go to the Super Bowl this year last week. I'm not going to pick Captain America Joe Burrow to lose to Captain
Massage.
Yeah, sure, we'll go with that. Deshaun Watson. Everyone in the world, America wants the Browns to lose because Deshaun Watson sucks almost as much as Eli Apple, maybe more. That's a debate we'll have one day. Bengals all the way.
I'm also going to go with the Bengals. I had the Bengals winning the division, obviously, in the AFC North. If you ask me, Deshaun Watson might very well come out week one and just put on a show because he wants to prove the doubters wrong and he wants to keep, I guess, the Cleveland Brown playoff hopefuls alive. But truth of the matter, the Bengals are much better. I really don't see much upside in this Browns team. Some people even had them as a wild card team. I don't think so. Give me the Bengals easily. With that said, this game I'm actually excited for. Jaguars at Colts. I discussed this game with Brett James for FL Teams. We did a Jaguars season preview, so definitely check that out. That's our last YouTube video. Here's the thing. The Colts, this is Anthony Richardson's debut. That's the number one reason I'm excited. But the number two reason I'm excited is to see how bad the Jaguars beat the Colts. So there you have it. I had the Jaguars winning. Here's the thing. I'm a Gators fan. I love Anthony Richardson. Even if Richardson plays outstanding, the Jaguars are talented. They're going to win their division. Guess what? Brett James from FL Team said they're going to be the number one seed in the AFC just because of their strength of schedule. So I'm not agreeing with him. That's why I didn't say I think that. I said he does. But here's the truth of the matter. The Jaguars are going to beat the Colts. I mean, the favorite is Jaguars -3. It should honestly be more than that because this game is not going to be close.
I'm going to put my whole retirement on the Jaguars. Sorry, Jeremiah. Go ahead.
No. Look, my line says -5, and I'm still ready to bet a mortgage on it. This Jacksonville team is just scary. They got better at every spot on the offense. You add in Calvin Ridley. You add in a back behind ETN, Tank Bigsley, who I think is going to be great. And, I mean, they just upgraded across the board. They really did a great job of bringing in Doug Peterson and allowing him to build the foundation of this team. I think it's going to be interesting to see what Jacksonville does this year. Jacksonville rolls.
Yeah, weren't the Jags like 2-7 or something ridiculous last year before they went on the run? Almost beat the Chiefs in the playoffs to get to the AFC Championship game. This is a good team. I don't think Brett James is crazy for saying they could be the number one seed. And Anthony Richardson was a bad college quarterback last year. I don't know why people think, his 6 for 17 outing in the preseason made people say, look at him. I'm like, what? Why? Because he had one run and completed almost 35% of his passes. What the hell's wrong with you? He's going to suck this year. There's a growth year for Richardson. He's got potential out the wazoo, but he plays like what comes out of the wazoo. He's going to be a dog crap. A horse crap season for the Indianapolis Colts. Jags roll easy. Speaking of Florida teams, we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going up to Minnesota to face the Vikings. The Vikings 6-point favorites. I don't know if they even won a game by that many points last year. They had a negative point differential despite being 13-4 and a first-round exit. Luckiest team I've ever seen. However, luck continues, right? Because they're facing the Bucs. So we had a pretty meaningful discussion about the Bucs last week. They're in like what should be a rebuild year, but they're clinging on to the guys like Mike Evans and Godwin and Devin White, Levante David and Carlton David. Just come on, rebuild or don't half-ass it. And that's what the Bucs are doing. I think, again, I said last week, because respect for Todd Bowles, because when he flames out of this job, nobody's going to give him a coaching job ever again after this. It's unfortunate, but you knew what you were getting into when you signed a deal with the devil, right? You knew that we were going to get some mercenaries to go in and go hard for a couple of years. And once that stops, we're going to rebuild, except for the idiots who run the Bucs said, let's half-ass rebuild. Which is a big, big mistake. I think the Vikings roll. I think Jefferson has a big game. And I think Madison has a big game because I don't think he takes kindly to all the Dalvin Cook talk. I don't know.
I also see Justin Jefferson having a big game. I could see anywhere from 2 to 4 touchdowns. My hot take would be 4 touchdowns. I could see it happening against basically what's going to be the weakest Buccaneers defense in a while. And I also want to mention this. I think Baker Mayfield is going to struggle mightily. I think it's going to get Buc fans really pissed. A lot of fans put a lot of effort into their week 1 teams. And if their team doesn't start off in the right direction, they're going to be pissed. And while I think Buc fans actually know they're going to have a losing season, I don't think they're gonna expect Baker Mayfield to do that bad week 1. So give me the Vikings easily. Justin Jefferson, 4 touchdowns.
So I'm gonna go with the Vikings, but I think it'll be closer than we think. And I'm gonna go the exact same opposite of what I talked about with Jacksonville. How Jacksonville got better at every position, skill position on offense. I think the Bucs got worse, or the Vikings got worse. They kind of regressed. I think Madison is a great duo back. I don't think by himself he's as good as what they had with Dalvin Cook. You lose Adam Thielen. There's some deficiencies on, as you called it, Jeff, again, the luckiest team in the NFL last year. So Minnesota will probably win just because Justin Jefferson will by far be the best player on the field, but I think it might be closer than we think it should be. Now with that, we go to the luckiest team to me, I would say maybe the unluckiest team in the San Francisco 49ers. The way they went out of the playoffs last year, to me, they legit had a chance to derail Philadelphia. You lose your quarterback, you're down to nothing in that game, and it's a heck of a way to exit the season. So coming in, they're going to be visiting the Pittsburgh Steelers. Mike Tomlin might be as good as any coach in the league preparing his team on a long, over a bye week, or especially week 1 of the NFL season. The Steelers are very good at home. They play very well. Especially, I think they'll be pumped up. That crowd in Pittsburgh is strong. I just can't pick them to win, though. I think San Francisco, Brock Purdy's healthy. You're back to this team who wants to make a statement. There's some question marks about Joey Bosa, but I know Pittsburgh is planning on him playing. I don't think Kenny Pickett has grown as far as everyone wants to say he has. And I still think that offense has some growing to do. San Francisco might be the most complete team in the NFL, as they appear to be every year. McCaffrey will be healthy because it's week 1. I'll take the 49ers.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you here when it comes to the Steelers. Home game, Mike Tomlin, a lot of time to prepare. I have this game going into overtime. I really do. I think this is an overtime type of game, but I'm going to give it to the 49ers, stunning the Steelers crowd. I just think that the 49ers aren't going to be completely built up yet. And I think the Steelers are going to come out and kind of scare the 49ers because I don't think the 49ers are going to expect the Steelers to match up so well. Obviously, on paper, they don't match up, but I think week 1 they will. But I'm going to have the 49ers winning in overtime.
Yeah, it's a very interesting game, and I was looking at this one as an upset, and the line's only 2.5 points for San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, all right, well, I guess everyone thinks it could be an upset because this was a conversation I was having with my son where he's like, well, the 49ers have a great quarterback. I'm like, well, do they? We don't know. Like, he looked good last year.
Exactly.
But a lot of guys have 6-game stretches where they look excellent. Their defense, I don't think it's going to get better. They lost their defensive coordinator. D'Amico Ryans is now coaching Houston. I want to pick Pittsburgh to win, but I feel like San Francisco is still the better team. I can't see Kenny Pickett taking that step against the defense that's still very strong. So I'm also going with the 49ers. Speaking of strong defenses, our next game has the best defense in the National Football League, matched up against probably the best individual running back as far as running the football. The Tennessee Titans go to New Orleans to face the Saints. This one is more. There's more to it than it seems. The Saints are 3-point favorites. They're at home, so that kind of makes sense. But look, the Saints kind of rebuilt a little bit. They've had the worst actually, these two teams have had the worst injury luck the past 2 seasons. So I think it's one of those things where they're both crossing their fingers. I think the Titans were 7-3 last year before Tannehill went down and they collapsed and lost the division to Jacksonville. This is not a bad team. The New Orleans Saints, look, there's no doubt if you look at the players on their roster and who's been missed. I'm not just talking about Michael Thomas. I'm talking about Marshawn Lattimore and the whole. Just look at their injury report the past 2 seasons. It's been crazy. They obviously went out and got Derek Carr. I guess it's no surprise, given that I picked the Saints to win the Super Bowl, that I'm going to pick the Saints to win this game. But this is going to be a hell of a football game. I think Tennessee is a better – I think they're being overlooked a little bit. If Tannehill and Henry are healthy, the offensive line maybe a little bit iffy. They got DeAndre Hopkins. This is not a team that can't win football games. It's going to be an interesting one in New Orleans. But I'm picking the Saints, of course.
So you spent most of your time talking about the Saints defense, and I could not agree with you more. I'm surprised you didn't hit on the fact that your offensive upgrade is tremendous. Michael Thomas is back healthy. Derek Carr is an upgrade over anybody who stepped under center for you last year. People say you're going to miss Kamara, but Jamal Williams is a heck of a back. He proved that last year. He fits into the kind of running game that it seems like New Orleans likes to stick with. I think just the offense is better. I don't think DeAndre Hopkins, I'm kind of on the fence on him that it might have just passed him by. He might be our Le'Veon Bell. You think he's going to go somewhere else and get better, but he really hasn't. As Hopkins has changed teams, he has not gotten better. He has regressed. And I think this might be this year's Julio Jones. And if that's the case, I think New Orleans handles this one I think it's pretty handy victory.
Look, I also have the Saints winning. I'm going to be honest with you. I've always loved Derek Carr, and I think he is going to perform well and really tell Saint fans that we're coming for a Super Bowl. And honestly, it's going to make Drew Brees happy because he obviously wants the Saints to be a very successful organization, and I think he's going to be happy, and the Saint fans, including you, Jeff, are going to be happy with who's at the helm. In terms of the Titans, they've always been one of those borderline playoff teams, even with Derrick Henry. Look, Derrick Henry's going to do what he's going to do, but there's just no way the Titans can keep up with the Saints with the quarterback situation. DeAndre Hopkins is talented, but honestly, with who's throwing him the ball, I don't see that being the difference maker week 1 in New Orleans. Let's go to what I'm going to say is the most likely game to end up being 2-0 in week 1. The Cardinals at the Commanders. The Commanders open up as 7-point favorites, as they should. The Commanders are not that good, but that just shows you how bad Arizona is. And to be honest with you, the Kyler Murray situation is terrible. It looks like Joshua Dobbs is going to start week 1. Look, James Conner is going to be carrying this offense most of the season, and not in a good way. It's not like he's going to help them win. He's just going to be scoring a lot of garbage time points. So a quick fantasy football plug, James Conner might be very good this season. But look, the Commanders are going to win this game. I really want to move on because this is going to end up being 2-0 or something like that. Two very bad teams, but it just shows you the difference between bad and very bad. The very bad team is Arizona.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. Commanders, I'm not going to waste time. This game sucks.
Jeff, I think Arizona is doing what you said Tampa Bay should. Okay, they're not pretending they're trying to contend. They're just blowing this thing up. I mean, literally bringing in Dobbs and everything. I mean, no, they're just going to – they know who they are. This is the equivalent of tank for Tua. They want Caleb Williams, and they're going to do everything they got to do to get there within reason. A team that might get close to them, though, is in our next game, the Houston Texans. Even though, I mean, they were there last year, but I just – Houston has the potential to be something better. They're slowly rebuilding. I love DeMeco Ryans. I hate that he has to face Lamar Jackson in week 1. And, you know, I feel like I'm talking a lot about crowds, but the Baltimore fans, I hate them with a purple passion, but they come and they're loud, and that stadium is tough to play in. And I think, I really think that CJ Stroud's going to feel that. You know, I love the running back in Houston. I think this line should probably be 17, not 10. Baltimore should easily handle Houston.
I don't care if this game is played in Baltimore or on the moon. Like, the Ravens are going to destroy the Texans because the Texans have a JV squad roster. It's going to be a blowout. Lamar Jackson also is like God in week 1 of the NFL season. And, you know, it helps that he gets to play teams like the Houston Texans, which I don't know if they beat some college football teams. So, yeah, give me the Ravens, the points, all of them.
Yeah, the Ravens are going to blow out the Texans, but I think you were right about the JV team. But I'm going to be honest, the Texans running back room, imagine if they had put the Texans running back room on another team.
Imagine if they had an offensive line. Is that what you're trying to say?
No, but seriously, Dameon Pierce and Devin Singletary isn't that bad. It just sucks for them that they have to deal with a terrible rest of the roster. Let's move on to another divisional matchup. Packers at Bears. Look, these are two historic teams. Two teams that honestly, you know, I could go ask one of my NFL friends, oh, the Bears will win. Oh, the Packers will win. There's a reason this is a -1 spread, but that favors the Bears. Again, I am one of the people that do not trust Jordan Love, and I'm actually one of the few people that I'm not going to say fully trust Justin Fields, but I'm a fan of Justin Fields. I don't see a lot of problems with him like others do. I'm going to go with the Bears here. I don't have the Packers making the playoffs. I think one of you guys did. Am I correct? Yes. The Bears, I think, are going to win this game. This is going to be close. I think the Bears faithful will make a difference. And I think Justin Fields is going to be just a good quarterback in this game because the Packers are not much of a force.
Look, I think yet again we're going to see Aaron Rodgers screw the Green Bay Packers, because if you don't think Chicago's still thinking about all that I own Chicago stuff, They're going to take it out on Jordan Love. I don't believe in Jordan Love. The wide receiver core for the Packers looked a little better down the stretch, but I might give more credit to Aaron Rodgers on that than I will to them. I don't trust Jordan Love at all. And after that Dolphins game last year, I can't not be a believer in Justin Fields. The guy was Superman. And I think as he gets better and the receiving core around him adjust, I think the Bears win this one.
I think y'all have been smoking Mike McDaniel's weed. I trust Justin Fields. What the hell have you guys been watching on the football
against
field?
the Packers? I do.
Yeah,
The Packers have one of the best defenses in the NFL. I mean, the Packers have a good defense. I agree. I have no opinion either way of Jordan Love because he's been more missed than hit. But, at least he's barely been on the field. Justin Fields, the guy with a 5-20 record as a starting quarterback, the guy who barely can complete, he's under 60% completion percentage. The guy who's got 24 touchdowns, 21 picks in 2 years as a passer. He is a terrible quarterback to this point. We saw Jalen Hurts, although Jalen Hurts was not starting from a level of dog shit that, pardon my French, that Justin Fields has been the worst quarterback in the NFL. There's a reason the Bears had the number 1 pick in the draft, and it's because they had a crappy quarterback. I don't know. But Justin Fields gets credit because he makes a couple highlight reel plays and looks like horse manure the rest of the game. It's awful. I was on the fence about this game, but the more I think about Justin Fields, the more I lean towards those Green Bay Packers. I'm the guy who picked the Packers to go to the playoffs. They've got a good run game. They've got a young receiving core. We'll see how Jordan Love does, and they've invested heavily in defense. I'm going with the Packers to defeat Justin Fields, who I still can't understand other than just idiocracy why people like him as an NFL quarterback. I might be wrong. He might turn into one. He's shit right now. Pardon my French. I don't get it. Speaking of idiots, I don't know if that's even a segue. Josh McDaniels is coaching a team. So
yeah, no, that's a good segue.
Yeah,
that's a good segue.
It's the best. I don't know if we were talking about them before, but now we are. Josh McDaniels is coaching the Las Vegas Raiders. He took a playoff team and said, no, I don't like it this way. I'm going to tell Derek Carr he can't call audibles. I'm going to say you run my plays even if they're not going to work. I'm going to make Hunter Renfrow, who had over 100 catches in 2021, just disappear. He's a magician, Josh McDaniels is. If you want somebody to hurt your team. Meanwhile, they travel to Denver to face the Broncos, who were definitely the worst coach team of all time last year. And they've got a Hall of Fame coach coming in, Sean Payton. This game, you talk about a 2-0 game, Isaac. This might be very close to that. They both have weapons. The Raiders have Devontae Adams and Josh Jacobs, one of the best receivers, one of the best running backs in the NFL. Josh McDaniels will figure out a way to neutralize them. The Broncos, meanwhile, Russell Wilson looked like Justin Fields last year. Well, except for without the running ability. So worse. Yeah, he looked really bad. But Sean Payton's an offensive genius. So ultimately, this is probably like a 13-10 game that the Broncos win because, Sean Payton won his first 3 games coaching the Saints, who started off in a pretty bad spot back in 2006 after the Katrina season. If he can take that team to 3-0, he can take a borderline Hall of Fame quarterback and get them a win in week 1 against a horrible, horrible Las Vegas team.
I'm going to have my first upset here of the games, and I'm going to go with the Raiders. I think, despite missing basically all of training camp, Josh Jacobs is going to feast. He is going to feast this week. And I don't know how Devontae Adams will do. I was disappointed that he didn't have many, if any, highlight games last year. But here's the thing. The Broncos, I know Sean Payton's their coach, but I just don't see Russell Wilson playing better than Jimmy Garoppolo. That's sad to say. That is sad to say. But the difference is Garoppolo never looks bad because he's a game manager. He never has to throw the ball that much to look bad. And if he does, well, he has Devontae Adams. I think for the Raiders, their run game is going to make all the difference. I have the Raiders winning this game. It's not a crazy upset, and it's not going to be by that much, but I just have the Raiders winning, even on the road.
I see both sides of this. I do believe that Russell Wilson might be on that Deshaun Watson, like we're going to find out who they really are this year. Because, I mean, Russell Wilson, like last year, we just kept waiting on him to be better, but it just didn't happen.
Russell Wilson is not a rapist.
Well, okay. Yeah. But on the field, I should say, right? We kept waiting on Deshaun to be good because we remembered him as good. It didn't happen. We kept waiting on Russell Wilson to get good. Didn't happen. So yeah, I think when I have two bad teams, go with the coach. When you go with the coach, that's Sean Payton. So I take the Broncos on that one. And if we're going to go with coach again, let's slide to my unfortunate hometown, Philadelphia Eagles, going to the New England Patriots. I mentioned earlier about Mike Tomlin and being a coach that you don't want to play after rest. Bill Belichick is by all means the greatest coach of that. If Belichick has time to prepare for you, he's going to make it closer than it should or find a way to win. New England had a way of doing that all last year, but this Eagles team is just a buzzsaw. That plain and simple. They got better on every level. They lost some defensive players, but they just replaced them with Georgia players. So they just got younger on defense.
Better?
Yeah, they did. Nakobe Dean's now fully healthy. Jordan Davis in the middle. The defense has just gotten younger on the pieces that they lost, and the offense is just increasing. I think they're better in the backfield. I don't think it's really going to be that close. Maybe Belichick will find a way, but the Eagles win this game.
I mean, I agree with you. The Eagles are going to win. I think you've been drinking some of that special person water in that the Philadelphia people feast on because they're all very special, if you know what I'm saying. The Eagles did not get better. They had a bunch of guys have career years. They lost Miles Sanders. They lost some defensive players, replacing them with rookies. When's the last time that was a sure thing? Oh, yeah, just replace them with rookies. No, that's bull crap. The Eagles did not get better. They're worse. Jalen Hurts also, remember, he was dog crap his first two seasons, except for against the Saints. And he had a career year. He needs to prove it, too. He's not a sure thing. He has had 1 year where he looked like a great player. No, the Eagles are far from a sure thing. That being said, the Patriots, they're not quite there. I don't really know what they've been. They just haven't. They've been relying on their coach and not adding talent, although I do like Mike Gesicki to have a big year. But
he's injured now.
I think he's supposed to be okay for week 1, isn't he? But regardless, I agree. The Eagles are going to win this game, but I don't think they're a better team than it. I think they've got decidedly worse in my view. I don't think they're going to touch 13, 14 wins, whatever it was last year. But Eagles win this game. Fuck Philadelphia.
I think this is one of those games that's going to ruffle feathers because it's Patriots versus Eagles. Two fan bases that love to go at it. I'm not going to go against the Eagles, even though I, number one, don't like the Eagles, and number two, don't think they're going to advance far in the playoffs. I wouldn't be surprised if they lose first round. Most people have them making the Super Bowl, so there goes that. But yeah, give me the Eagles. The Eagles are going to look dominant in week 1, but it's against the Patriots. With that said, this is where me and Jeremiah love to feast. Dolphins at Chargers. If you guys remember from my last show, I had the Chargers making the Super Bowl. And the Chargers are the home team. The Chargers are better than the Dolphins. Justin Herbert's way better than Tua, and I'm a Dolphin fan. Give me the Chargers. I think this is going to be a bad week for the Dolphins. This is not going to accurately represent how good the Dolphins are this season. it's just a Chargers home game, and the Chargers are going to look dominant, and Justin Herbert's going to play well. And Tua never really plays that well on the road. I don't think this is going to be a good week for the Dolphins. It's not going to really indicate the Dolphins' success this season, or I should say the Dolphins looking bad, because they're going to look pretty bad week one. I think it's going to have to be one of these games where you have to go to Twitter, tell the Dolphin fans, stop overreacting. This is one game, and it's at the beginning of the season, because I wouldn't be surprised if the Dolphins look terrible week one. Give me the Chargers.
I still will never understand. Maybe one day off air, Isaac, you can tell me what Tua did to hurt you so bad. You hate Tua. You all last year you wanted Bridgewater in the game. We saw how that went. Look, Tua's fully healthy. The Dolphins defense is going to be dramatically better. The last time Tua and Herbert faced off, we heard the same stuff, and Tua walked away with a W. I don't understand why we would say anything different here. So Dolphins win this game.
Well, Jeremiah is still drinking that special water from Philadelphia. No, Isaac, I agree with almost every single thing you said. I think the Chargers win this game. I think they are I think they're the better team. Also, Teron Armstead, I've still heard is like on the fence whether he's going to play.
No, he's in. He's good.
Is he?
Yep, good to go.
Well,
so is Devon Achane. So
I don't care about Devon. Okay, all right. So is Jeremiah Hensley. So is
you'll know by week 3.
The Chargers are okay. Sure, I will. I'm glad we got this tight view on the camera. It keeps our PG rating intact. Yeah, no, the Chargers win this game. They're a better team. Yeah,
But you're right about.
Can't wait for next week.
You're right about this being a false representation, correct, of the Dolphins, though.
Well, no, I think the Chargers are a better team. The Dolphins are not at full strength, even if they've got Teron Armstead. They don't have Jalen Ramsey.
Correct.
They've got Eli Apple, who's got a bounty on his head from his baby mama, and rightfully so, frankly. The Eli Apple factor. We'll just call it that. He's cancer, basically. You don't want him in your organization. That's the reason
I can't believe he's on a Florida team. I thought that Bengals Super Bowl game was like the main Eli Apple segment, but something tells me that we're going to have to talk about him later in the season.
Look, that guy turned a walk-on into like a full-time acting gig. Like he will forever be linked at FL teams when we thought we just had one Super Bowl to burn him. Somehow,
I guess
the gift that keeps on giving.
There's a reason, he's the opposite of Edwin Jackson in the MLB, who played for 14 Major League Baseball teams and has a losing record because everyone loved him. So even if he was mediocre, Eli Apple's a good player, but nobody likes him. Everybody hates him because he's a horrible human being. And that's why he's bouncing from team to team, because he can't stay in a locker room. And he's going to be a cancer for the Dolphins if he stays there a long time, too. That's just the way he rolls. He's a horrible human being. Go look up on X. If you think he's any better, you're wrong. He's a horrible person. Piece of trash. Speaking of pieces of trash, let's go to Los Angeles. And they're facing the Seattle Seahawks. See, I'm the king of the segue. This is one of the more intriguing games, actually, and I need to go on our little pick'em league to keep track and see which team I picked. I'm gonna change my pick if I picked it differently on the app. This is an intriguing game because think about this game. If this was week 1 last year, you've got the defending Super Bowl champion Los Angeles Rams going against the hapless Seattle Seahawks, being led by a career journeyman, Geno Smith. And now you flip the script, and the Seahawks are 4-point favorites in week 1 of this year, and the Rams are looked at as lesser than, and I don't disagree that they should be, because they are less than they were when they won the Super Bowl. But are the Seahawks that much better, or did they have some interesting game luck last year? Because this was a team that I believe went 0-4 against the NFC South and still made the playoffs. They lost to the Saints, the Bucks, the Falcons, and the Panthers, I believe, last year. Geno Smith, I liked him in West Virginia. I went to USF. I got to see him up close in person when they were in the same conference a couple times, and I'm like, this is going to be a good NFL quarterback. I was wrong, but he was good last year. I think that was a Cinderella story that was great. Good story. I like Geno Smith as a person. I think he's still like the 20th to 30th best quarterback in the world. But that doesn't give you a playoff team, let alone a winning team. I know the Rams don't have Cooper Kupp, but I'll say this. I think their hamstring was offensed. Their offense was hamstrung at times last year because their offense was give the ball to Cooper Kupp every play. Just dump it to him. Like, it was ridiculous. Like, his air yards were like -17. He'd have 18 catches in a game. It was absurd. Maybe they'd benefit from going a couple weeks without Cooper Kupp if the rest of the team is healthy. They've still got Stafford, who's, Kirk Cousins, Derek Carr, middle of the road quarterback, better than Geno Smith, frankly. They've still got Aaron Donald, who is still a game-changing player. I don't know. I think I'm leaning towards the Rams in this game, despite it being in Seattle.
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm totally leaning towards the Seahawks, and I have no regrets. I thought, like, this is a close game, so usually for close games you're like taking both sides. I don't know. I just have the Seahawks winning at home. Geno Smith, I think is going to come out like he did last year and perform. And look, they still somehow, some way have Lockett and Metcalf. Some way, somehow. We've seen them in the trade rumors for the last few years. Somehow, some way, they're still on the team. I expect them to have a big game like they always do. They're always consistently good. And it's always like one of them 2 touchdowns, one of them 1 touchdown. So give me the Seahawks. Look, the Rams still have Cooper Kupp, but honestly, I don't see them having anything close to the amount of hype they had a few years ago when they were in the Super Bowl. Give me the Seahawks.
Jeff, I didn't see the Rams offense as hamstrung by Cooper Kupp so much as they literally didn't have another option. When Cooper Kupp missed time, there was nobody to throw the ball. I mean, they're just not talented outside of that. Van Jefferson puts no fear in anyone. So that offense without Cooper Kupp, I mean, you've got Higbee, the tight end, who's coming into his own a little bit, maybe Cam Akers. But going into Seattle week 1, I think where Seattle got better and we started seeing their offense come together more was when Kenneth Walker III started coming together. He was my favorite back in last year's draft. I think the more we see him, the more he adds to that offense. Seattle walks. I don't think it'll be close, really. I think the Rams could be very bad if Kupp is injured for a long period of time. So from West Coast to East Coast, let's swing over to an NFC East battle. These are always tough. The Dallas Cowboys facing the New York Giants. And, interesting, again, the Giants were better than anybody gave them credit for last year. Brian Daboll did a tremendous job of getting youth and hitting in the draft on his picks. What the Giants brought in contributed, and they contributed early. Daniel Jones finally looked like the Daniel Jones that maybe even deserved the name Danny Dimes. I think that offense got better with Darren Waller. Waller was a little sketch last year. I don't know if maybe that was, again, Josh McDaniel deciding to blow everything up in Vegas, but Waller kind of regressed a little bit. I think a change in scenery might be really good for him. And with that happening, I'll go to my McCaffrey note from earlier. Saquon Barkley's healthy in week 1. Dallas, I can't buy into Dak Prescott. I did the first year. It was fun. Late round pick, coming in, causing some noise. Dallas's defense is really tough. Micah Parsons still probably the best defensive player on the planet. That guy's a game changer.
Yeah.
And I really, really cannot wait to see what Tony Pollard does when he doesn't have Ezekiel Elliott trying to vulture touchdowns from him. I think this could be a great year for Tony Pollard. But I think I'm going to go the opposite. I think the Giants win this game at home.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
See, I came into this thinking I was probably higher on the Giants than you two. I'm leaning Cowboys in this one, though. I'll be honest. I don't know why I want the Giants to win. Just something about it. I'm like, I feel like the Cowboys are just that team that's like, there's no, they're just that 9 to 10 win team. There's no fluctuation with them. Like, they've got Micah Parsons. They've got Dak Prescott, who's like the perfect middle quarterback, right? Like, he's like the 16th best quarterback in the NFL, and he always will be.
The next Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, but I think even more consistent. He'll always be the same. Like, I'm going to throw 2 picks, but I'm going to throw 3 touchdowns. I don't know. I'm leaning towards Cowboys in week 1, even though I have both of these teams making the playoffs. So
I have the Giants making the playoffs and not the Cowboys, and I'm going to go with the Giants winning this game. I agree with you, Jeremiah. Danny Dimes, is it his year? I think we'll find out. Rightfully so. This is a Sunday night football game. And you were right. You opened up this segment, Jeremiah, talking about how hard it is to predict these NFC East matchups. That's how it is. Even with the Eagles like being way better, we still always have to discuss an upset. And I'm glad. Like the Eagles, we don't want to win. But seriously, these Cowboys-Giants games are always up and back. And if the Cowboys win, don't yell at me that I'm wrong because I'm not putting that much energy into this. But give me the Giants.
Isaac predicted the Cowboys would win the NFC East, by the way.
No.
Did I?
I got your predictions written right here.
Much like Coach Prime, Jeff keeps receipts.
I got the Giants making the playoffs, not the Cowboys. No, you got them winning the division.
But still, you got Giants in the playoffs.
Giants winning.
I got the pink sheet here.
Giants are winning. Who cares? This is the game I'll put energy into. This game I'm excited for. And, of course, they have to make it the last game of week 1. So we have to wait the longest for it. Aaron Rodgers under the national stage in a new uniform against the same old Bills that are still very talented. And I think this is going to be a high-scoring game. This is going to be the best game of week 1. Obviously, just because it's supposed to be the best game doesn't mean it's going to be. I think the Jets put up a fight, but there's no way they beat the Bills. I have the Bills winning this game. Look, the Jets are going to be good this season. I have this I can confirm. I know I was wrong about the Cowboys. I can confirm I had all 3 AFC East teams making the playoffs. So, not all 4, but the 3 out of the 4. You know what I mean? Gosh. But look, I have the Jets and Bills making the playoffs. But when we talked about who's going to be a higher seed, it's going to be the Bills. I don't care that the Jets are home. I don't care that New York's fan base is amazing. Aaron Rodgers is going to do just fine in his debut. He's going to be used to the system. He's had a lot of time to prepare. But the Bills are just better than the Jets. And I don't think this is a game where the Jets come out on fire and just beat the Bills. It's not going to happen. But this is going to be the best game. I'm most excited for this matchup.
I think it could go either way. I still stand by the fact that I think the Bills window has closed. I don't think they're the best team in the AFC East anymore. I don't even think there's a second best team. I think as this season plays out, the Jets will be better than the Bills. But Monday night, opening up against Aaron Rodgers, say what you will, Josh Allen is an old school cowboy. He shows up when it's time to show up. Big time. Monday night, lights on against Aaron Rodgers. I think Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen put on a show, and Buffalo wins that game. Still, in the long run, I think the window's closed in Buffalo. But Monday night, I'll give it to Josh.
I think both teams are going to put up a show.
Jeremiah's smoking that hopeful sativa blend that Mike McDaniel has mixed up. The Buffalo's window is closed. They're all in their goddamn prime. That's a ridiculous statement. I can't stand for it. That being said, I also can't stand for Isaac saying it's going to be a high-scoring affair. These are 2 of the best defenses in the NFL in this game. I think points are going to be harder to come by than a lot of fans want it to be. I think everyone wants us to be a 42-38 game. I think it's going to be in the 20s. You know, I think these are 2 really good defenses, and I think that's part of the thing gets overlooked with the Bills and their closing window.
It's closing.
And also gets overlooked with the Jets. The only reason that they even won 7 games last year is because their defense was damn good despite having a mess of an offense. Anyways, I think Aaron Rodgers cures the Jets offense. but not in week 1. I think the Bills win this game. I think they're still maybe the class of the AFC. And that's all the games, guys.
You know what I think? I think this is going to be an interesting season because we all have some takes that are differing going into week 1. So the reactions in week 2 and where we go, I think this is going to be fun.
Yeah. Isaac, before I say goodbye, do you have any final words?
No, I think this discussion basically not just proves why the NFL season is going to be interesting and fun to watch, but fun to cover here on NFL teams. I mean, between the three of us, it's good that we're not just disagreeing, but we all have our different fandoms. Like, I think the most interesting part, sorry to leave Jeff out, is me and Jeremiah being a fan of the same team, but our much differing thoughts on the Dolphins. That's what's amazing about us. And that's what's amazing about FL teams, because it won't just be the three of us this season. We have a lot of new contributors that we want to introduce to you guys, a lot of special guests coming on throughout the season, hopefully a lot of live streams, but most importantly, good content. Again, for Isaac Edelman, Jeff Macolino with his Saints helmet that he broke, and Jeremiah Hensley, this is FL Teams Live. We'll see you next week recapping what happened in week 1 of the NFL season. Have a good rest of your night, guys.